So, hello and welcome to Handmade Oxford Online, the interactive virtual craft fair, which runs from Wednesday the 15th to Sunday the 19th of September 2021. Handmade Oxford Online is a wonderful mix of exhibitor led live sessions, daily auctions, our chat functions, our demonstration videos, but also more importantly, the chance to buy from our exhibitors directly from their shop page. And you can find all of this on interact.co.uk um, with us over on Handmade in Britain. So, to introduce myself, my name is Alice and I'm a part of Handmade in Britain. And it's wonderful that this afternoon I can introduce Liz Stovell from Untold Jewellery. So, Liz, it's really nice to see you this afternoon. Tell us, where are you joining us from?
Hi everybody. Firstly, thanks for the opportunity to be able to speak today. It's really great to have these kind of interactive sessions. I'm joining you from my studio in South London.
Well, it's wonderful to see you in there, and it's wonderful, for people joining us perhaps who aren't aware of your work. Tell us a little bit, about your work and how it's how we're kind of seeing it and here for you.
So my business is probably only about, I guess, about 4 years old now. It's quite young, but I've been a maker for probably about, I'm going to show my age now, about 20 years. The brand really came about from wanting to use responsible materials. So I started off doing sort of remodels. And actually the first remodel I did was my inherited grandma's ring. So from there, I realised that actually I could use my skills to do something meaningful within the jewellery industry. And that's really how my brand's evolved and actually how I've come around to using materials like Fairtrade.
So we touched upon there about fair trade. You know, how important over the years have you seen from really, fair trade change, but also it starting to play a role in your collection?
So actually this year, Fairtrade is celebrating its 10-year anniversary. And it actually, Fairtrade Gold has only been available in the UK for about 5 years now. So I think it's fair to say in everybody's minds, certainly with all the information we're getting about the climate change, that sustainability is pretty much, at the forefront of people's minds now. Would I say it was like that 10 years ago? Probably not, but it's really great to see the momentum for people to really focus on that now. So I think fair trade is actually a very recognizable symbol. Everybody knows it in regards to like coffee and bananas and chocolate, and it's the same principle for gold as well.
What's been the reaction from, customers and people, interested in your work that fair trade, is a part of your creative business?
I think usually positive. A lot of people do come to me because I do use responsible materials and because I can give them options based on what their preference is. So for fair trade, I don't think it's as well known. So I really enjoy being able to kind of give people that information so that they can make their own choices on how they want to move forward with their kind of consumer choices, really.
Does it bring a benefit to you and your collection by using fair trade?
I think that, yeah, I mean, the benefit is really with, obviously it benefits the miners. For me, it's, sustainability, ethics, and responsible sourcing is really at the core of who I am as a person. So essentially that's at the core of the business because the business is me. So it's important to me, and I decided in my new collection to only use Fairtrade Gold because I feel quite, I'm quite passionate about it.
Do you think kind of using fair trade is going to, continue to be a driving force in the collection? And if so, what's is there a story behind, fair trade that's really started this, or something that you'd like to share with us?
Um, Gosh, there's lots of stories that I could share with you, but I think what I'd really like to do is just show you a short video of how it benefits the miners directly. Fairtrade Gold is essentially, they get a lot of their gold from Peru. So there's a little video I want to show you where the miners in Peru are just talking about the benefits of fair trade. that working?
It's fine.
De que venga para la organización que produce el comercio justo, para que venga en capacitación, mejores condiciones de trabajo, seguridad, nuevas tecnologías, mejorar el tema dentro de mina, el procesamiento.
Bueno, al inicio, cuando nosotros comenzamos a trabajar en esta actividad minera, no teníamos ningún tipo de implementación de seguridad porque trabajábamos empíricamente, sin implementos de seguridad, sin ningún tipo de medida. Sin embargo, hasta el día de hoy ya tenemos bien implementado, tenemos un ingeniero a cargo, recibimos capacitaciones, recibimos charlas al momento de ingreso y estamos implementados, ¿no?, con nuestros equipos de protección.
Las expectativas para nuestra comunidad es cada vez desarrollarnos para mejor, teniendo, digamos, perspectivas en el ámbito de trabajo, en su mejoría, en el ámbito social.
Ahora que nuestro oro va a entrar al primer semestre, yo me siento contenta y también creo todas mis compañeras, porque ya es una retribución que va a venir a nosotros en beneficio de nuestras familias y también de nuestra población que bastante necesita de esa ayuda que va a llegar.
That was kind of a really powerful video there. Was it scenes like this that have gone on to, influence your new collection?
Yes, it really was. My collection, the new collection, is called Stay, and there's a lot of influences in my inspiration for that. And it's really the message about staying true to yourself. And I couldn't be true to myself and release a collection without also considering the sustainable aspects of the materials that I used. So yeah, it really did inspire it.
I mean, how accessible? I mean, if we start from the very beginning, how accessible is Fairtrade gold? Because that's predominantly what you're using. First of all, to get hold of, because obviously that's the basis material, of every collection.
I mean, luckily, because more and more jewelers are becoming aware of Fairtrade gold, the demand is increasing. I know that we were just talking to the Fairtrade just the other day, and they were saying in the last year that at least an additional 150 jewelers have signed up to the scheme. It's fantastic. I mean, it's still, because it is small scale mining, the amount of gold that does come out of those kind of mines is quite small in comparison to the commercial mines. I think a commercial mine will take 3 tons a year from the ground, but artisan miners are probably like 60 or 70 kilograms. So at the moment, the supply is fine. The interesting thing about Fairtrade Gold is they do partner with banks. So they have an agreement, like a guarantee from the banks, that any gold that isn't sold to a jeweler who gets preferential treatment, they will buy it, so that the miners will always have money coming in.
I think that's so important. Obviously, we've seen over the last year how things impact us, but certainly, there. And it was really interesting, during the video that one of their kind of pieces was a mine really does you support a community.
Yes.
Through. I think that's so important. So when you're kind of thinking about your pieces, and going on to use gold, do you kind of keep that in the forefront, that you're going on to help someone, and how important is that for you?
I think, for me, it's super important. I think even though I've been a maker for 20 years, I was quite reticent to start a brand because I felt quite funny about just putting more things out into the world. And for this, being able to use Fairtrade Gold and knowing that I'm supporting some vulnerable communities, it just means it's meaningful, really. I'm able to do some good with the skills that I have. That's kind of the way I think about it. And I also get to make pretty things and help people tell their stories about what's important to them, really. So, yeah.
Touching about stories there, I noticed that, there is kind of, you describe the work as like a narrative through design. So kind of, focusing now, on the way that you work, how important are our stories, into the pieces that you do, create?
Well, stories is everything, actually, and that's why it's called Untold Jewellery, because it's all about untold stories. And that's why I called it like that. And actually, that was the inspiration from my grandmother's inherited wedding ring. When I inherited her ring, it was way too big for her. She was a tiny lady, so I didn't know why that was the case. And then there was all these scratches and dents and stuff on there, and it was all the stories of that. So remodeling that ring so that I could wear it just added another chapter to the story of these rings, and it just made me think about the narrative and how actually through history jewelry has just been about stories. It's very evocative, and most jewelry is there. It's been bought or gifted or bought for themselves for a very good reason. There's a reason for jewelry, and I'm also lucky enough to get involved with engagements and wedding rings as well. And yeah, I love a good love story.
I was going to say that's probably one of the nicest stories, they're kind of seeing something, at the beginning, and then, when you're refashioning your grandmother's ring, it's kind of, the end of a story. However, you've given it, a new lease of life. But how wonderful to be able to, to touch. And do you think, with jewelry and being quite tactile, does touch and textures ever play, a role within your work? For people to get involved?
Yeah, so actually sort of like tactility, I think is probably one of the things that I was thinking about with my new collection, more kind of the interaction, because a lot of my stuff is bespoke, so the client will have a very strong involvement in that, but with a collection, not so much. So what I wanted to do is make it a little less about me and my aesthetic, and kind of create a dialogue with the wearer as well. So how I've managed to do that is a lot of the pieces in my new collection can be worn in lots of different combinations. And those combinations is really down to the wearer. So that becomes their creative expression. So it goes beyond my design and my making and becomes that wearer's kind of expression of who they are, really. And that's kind of what I wanted to try and achieve with the collection.
It's a very delicate collection, and it's very in terms of the kind of the thicknesses that you use, the delicacy of chains, but also I can see that there are stones within pieces. How important are stones and color of the stones that play into the collection?
I think color is quite important. People are drawn to color. I have a slight obsession with gold and green, so that's why my collection is all the pictures I've taken are with the green tourmaline, which I had sourced in this really lovely family mine in Brazil. Yeah, but color is, I think color makes some people happy, so I love to introduce some color. And a lot of the pieces, like my ring is I got a ring called the Stay ring, and it interlocks with another ring, and you can interchange the colors, so you can have any kind of color you want in there, really. So yeah, color's important.
So through this, we've obviously, you're using Fairtrade gold, within this collection, but how important is it, or how does, recycled gold play, a role, within any of your collections?
So I do offer recycled gold, and it's a good responsible option as long as it's post-consumer, which mine is. So it used to be something else before it was recycled. That's the true term of recycled, really. And, you know, and my customers will come to me, and everybody's got their own truth. So some customers will come to me and say, look, you know, I'm really concerned about the environment. I just want to use recycled. And other people are really focused on the kind of social impact, like the miners, you know, so the people aspect, so they will want to use fair trade. So yeah, I offer those options for sure. It's just that I've chosen to focus on the people aspect in the new collection and use fair trade.
Focusing on people and thinking about who's going to, you know, buy the, you know, the collection. What should people be looking out for when sourcing, especially, you know, with the focus on fair trade gold?
I think if you're gonna, if you are interested in sort of sustainable practices, just have an open conversation with your jeweler. Or if there's a brand that you really like where you can't have the conversation with, you know, the person making those decisions, then have a look on the website and see how transparent they are about their practices. A jeweler that is passionate about sustainability, or will have had to have done loads of research, because it's not the norm in the jewelry industry, and there is, I dare say it, a little bit of greenwashing going on. So jewelers that are passionate about sustainability and that will be able to happily talk about it for hours, like I probably could, so do stop me at some point. And they will be able to talk about not just you know, the traceability of their gold, but also of their gemstones, and their safe working practices in the studio. So it's really just about asking questions and having those conversations.
No, to me, I think it's really important. It's lovely. I can see you kind of really being, you know, a champion for this, which I think is really important. But, you know, to have someone that really, you know, knows and, you know, really passionate, and we can see that, you know, being driven through your sourcing, but then also going on to be able to create really beautiful, you know, pieces, you know, with this. Now, we've been kind of talking about, you know, your collection, and we've been talking about kind of where we're sourcing. It'd be wonderful. We can actually have a look at a couple of pieces. So what have you got for us to have a look at?
Well, I'm going to save you from my talking and show you a little video of my new collection. So let me see if I can find that. There we go. And if you want to ask questions as we go through, then feel free.
So tell us what we're looking here. So we're looking at your stay and open ring. So is this the one you were describing earlier of it being interlocking?
Yeah, so you can wear it, you can buy them individually, wear them individually if you like, but also they go in together like this. So you can wear it as one piece. And this is what I was saying as well, like you could have that middle ring a completely different color. So you could have, you know, rose gold and white gold together, or, you know, any kind of combination. And then you've also got, you can choose, there's up to 5 options for the stones as well. And these are my Grace, Always and Halo rings, which also can be worn together, or in as many combinations as you can think of, really. These are just the combinations that I kind of like.
No, it's wonderful, because, you know, you've taken time to think how they sit together. You know, are they going to be higher or lower? I suppose there's lots of different questions, you know, that you answer through your design process, you know, to have them work so well together. It's beautiful. So what are we seeing here? Are we seeing gold? And what's the stone that we're looking at?
Yeah, so it's 9-carat yellow gold. The diamonds are Canada mark diamonds. So Canada mark diamonds are pretty much the only 100% traceable diamonds available. And the gemstone is a green tourmaline. Tourmaline traditionally is quite dark, but I've managed to source this really lovely kind of like olive green, which is really, I think, really subtle. I quite like it.
I think it's beautiful.
Thank you.
And we can see that still working away with combinations. Now, when we look at this, is this quite a thick a thick setting with all 3 of them together there? Or is it quite? It's not as kind of take up as much as your finger as we suspect.
So each band is about 1.5 mil thick. So it probably looks a little bit chunkier than it actually is, but together they make a chunky ring. And I did that as well because I have some customers. I actually have quite a range of customers who like either a small delicate ring or a big chunky ring. So I thought actually if you could build them up, then I could probably answer that question for both ends of the spectrum. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does, because you could start off with one and then add to it. So I suppose there's a freedom to really create something that's quite personal to, to the wearer, which I think is lovely.
Yeah, and that's really what I wanted to do as well. So I think it'd be really interesting once the collection takes off, to see how people start wearing them and how they start to build them up.
Oh, wonderful. So I feel I know what's coming next, which is going to be some loose stones there. There we are.
So these are actually earrings. These are studs that I've just popped in so that we into the thing so you can see them. And these are just sort of like everyday gemstone studs. I've set the stones upside down just to give them a little bit of a contemporary twist.
Ah, wonderful. So we actually see the faceted bottom
Yeah.
rather than, say, a flat top that we see throughout other collections.
Yeah, because you can see through the stone as well, so which is, I think, quite fun.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you cut the setting in terms of it's not really kind of claws. You've got kind of in a way, looks a bit like a tension, but in between to still let light come in. So we can see actually that the tips there are dark. We've got a darker tip, and then through the middle it's a lot lighter where the light can get to.
Yeah, so underneath is gold, and it is high shine, so it will reflect the light through. But there's also like a tiny gap as well underneath, just to kind of let the light through even more. So I've got in the collection, there's 3 styles of studs, and these are the plain ones. And I sell them individually because people love a curated ear at the moment. So I feel like you shouldn't have to be bound to having a pair if you only just want one. And these are the diamond ones as well, again with Canada mark diamonds. And they're 1.5 mil diamonds.
Do you know, this is the first time that I've heard about Canada marked
Yeah.
diamonds. How did you come across them?
Well, I am lucky enough to volunteer with an organisation called Fair Luxury, and it's all a non-for-profit, all run by volunteers, and they're kind of like the game changers, I guess, in the jewelry industry, and they've been doing it for, I mean, way before I ever was. And these are amazing people, and through that they have a materials resource where they talk about responsible materials, and that's where I learned about Canada Mark as well, because I actually hadn't heard about them before then. So this is just all the studs together.
They work really well. Yes, you're quite right, individually, but then being able to add, pieces individually to your own style. Oh, and again, here we have, just as the ring, you can actually, add a different setting.
Yeah, so this again is all about giving the customer the choice to customize and make it personal to them. So I've made 3 earring jackets as well that fit over all 3 of the studs. So this is the diamond jacket. If you really want to bling up your everyday stud, and they fit round, as I say, they fit around all of the others as well. And then these are the cute little I call them edges, earring jackets as well. And these just kind of change the look of the studs. This is my favorite one. I wear this one all the time.
It's really quite striking. It reminds me of kind of an arrow, or the arrow you see through a love heart, as we were talking earlier about, kind of the love story.
That's what I love about jewelry is, I always design it with my inspiration in mind, and then everybody else will see something different. And I really like that.
I think it's lovely how people, when they have a piece, they impart their own story onto it. It really does become quite special, because you kind of let it off into the world, and then somebody just like me comes along and and sees it and puts my own kind of story to it.
Oh, I love that. And then these are the hoops that I will be introducing some little dangles that actually hang off these hoops at some point. And these just follow through with the same design aesthetic of the diamonds and the knife edge. And then these are the little affinity pendants. So these are, because at the moment as well, everybody loves a stacking necklace, as do I. So this is quite a small one that's quite delicate. And then following the theme through, there's pendant jackets as well that can be worn on their own, or around an existing pendant that you have, or with the affinity pendant we've just seen.
The high shine that you've got with these are just beautiful.
Thank you.
This one almost looks like a horseshoe. So again, something kind of, to cherish. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that.
Yeah, and then just the little affinity pendant goes in there as well.
what I really like about this piece is that even though the jacket is quite, I suppose, it's got very straight lines, when you start to add the small stone in between, you've got a little bit of movement there, so it really breaks it up. I think it's lovely.
Thank you. Well, that's it. That's the collection.
Well, it's a beautiful collection, that you have. It's wonderful. I think there's a piece for everyone, but I think the nice thing about it is there's a piece there for everyone, and a start-off piece there for everyone to kind of mix and match. I think it's a really lovely way, to design. It must be quite freeing, to keep adding things, for people to choose. Well, Liz, we're coming to the end of our talk. It's been really lovely to get to know you better, to get to know the collection, but also to hear and to learn, more importantly, about fair trade and how you're really championing fair trade use, and recycled gold, not only through your practice, but bringing awareness, to others. I think that's really, really special, and I think I've certainly learned a lot, and I know that certainly our attendees, have learned a lot, and especially those that will watch in the future. So I want to say thank you so much, for joining us this afternoon. It's been really lovely, to kind of have a sneak peek of where you are, and to share with us what you're doing now, and what you want to do in the future. So thank you so much, Liz. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to passionately talk about fair trade and to show off my collection.
I could keep going for a lot longer, believe me.